What's up, Bob here with
Jeffrey Lee Puckett.
Audio Talk number 2. Posted a video last week. A lot of feedback, a lot of great comments. It's time for the second one. Here's where we're at. We went over like a basic overview last week. Now we're going to start getting into some of the specifics. We all know that it starts with the source material, which is records, which is what we talk about.
So we live for
Yeah,
it.
we live for it. We talk about it constantly. Okay, but as soon as you put that sucker down on a turntable, the next thing that you do is drop the needle.
Yeah.
So, I think the next obvious thing to talk about is styluses, cartridges, and obviously that's going to segue a little bit into turntables. So, I'm running Grado green. It's all I know. It sounds good. Sounds good. But I am trying to get deeper into the cartridge thing to figure out what would be the perfect cartridge for my table and for what I want to hear.
Yeah. Cartridges are fun. I have a lot of fun trading cartridges in and out of the system.
Yeah, you do that a lot.
Yeah, I do it a whole lot.
Yeah, he does.
It's fun because it's relatively inexpensive way to make sometimes drastic changes in how your stereo sounds. Some cartridges sound better with certain genres of music. If I were really hardcore, I would have a turntable with a head shell that detaches.
Right.
And I would just pop different cartridges on all the time. But I'm trying to not drive myself insane. So I just keep one cartridge in at a time, but I trade them out probably every couple of months, every 2-3 months.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Too many options can equal paralysis by analysis. You don't want that. I've noticed, Jeffrey, that you are running a kind of Art Deco looking Shure cartridge a lot on this Roxen table.
Yeah, this was a very accidental, pleasant surprise. I've had these Roxen Radius turntables forever. It was my first really nice turntable I bought back in the mid-90s.
He has 2.
And then I ended up buying another one on eBay. I put in a bid. The opening bid was $400, and it had an upgraded tone arm that I wanted to get for my original Radius. I ended up winning the whole thing for $400, so an entire turntable. So now they're both hooked up at the same time. I got twin Roxens going. And when I was trying to decide what cartridge to put on the first Roxen, for whatever reason, I just decided to put this vintage Shure V15 3 series, which has got, as you say, the Art Deco-ish looking silver body. And I had a replacement. I had the original stylus and a replacement stylus from Jaico, which is a real highly thought of stylus manufacturer in Japan. So I popped on the Jaico stylus and put it on the Roxen, and immediately just fell in love with the sound. It is not as refined as my real fancy Grado cartridge, which is super smooth and everything. This one's a little rowdy sounding, and I just love it. It's a lot of energy, and I think it's also the combination. It just works really well with that particular tone arm. They just play nice together. And once upon a time, a couple of years ago, you could have got one of these cartridges for a really good price, but then Shure stopped making cartridges. So now all the old cartridges are going through the roof, of course.
And, this is of particular interest to me because I always like things either in a vintage design or just vintage. So that cartridge really speaks to my kind of, it's grooving with my soul, if you know what I mean. I'm like, that thing is cool. That said, I don't know, maybe when Jeffrey takes it off, I can borrow it for a day or something and see what it sounds like as compared to the Grado. But
Well, I have other vintage cartridges.
Yes,
that,
I know.
That I might let you borrow.
ooh.
Maybe that Empire. Are you going to show a picture?
I
of
am
the
going to show
Empire?
it.
Okay.
There's an Empire cartridge that's over there. That's like what would you? Is that gold? Is that what color that is?
Yeah,
It's got a little gold head shell.
Yeah, it's I guess it's gold or brass or something. Who knows?
Which kind of brings us to the next point, which is there are like some funky kind of alternatives to Grado or what's the other one?
Ortofon?
Ortofon, yeah. There are some obvious, like those are Ortofon and Grado are the two that you see.
They pop up the most
A
because
lot.
they offer a lot of bang for the buck. I've never bought a new cartridge ever,
Really?
except for that Shure, which I bought new back in '78 or '9 or whatever or '80. All my fancy audiophile cartridges I've bought secondhand from surgeons who
Right.
who buy stacks of gear and cartridges, and then they sell them on AudioGone for 80% off within 2 weeks because they decide they made a mistake, and then I just buy them at a remarkable savings.
And not to get too far off topic, but you have to say that when it comes to this audiophile gear, I've never seen anything like it. As far as the depreciation on items is, whoo, it's rough.
Yeah.
So if you're going to buy something brand new, which I don't suggest that retails for suckers, but if you're going to buy something brand new, you better really want it, because if you have to get rid of it,
Yeah.
you're probably going to take maybe close to 50% cut on it.
Yeah, I think you should count on 50%.
Yeah, yeah.
And be ready to deal with more.
Yeah, because that seems to be what the case is. All right.
So anyway, back on topic. Cartridges.
Cartridges.
3 main styles. There's moving magnet, which is the most common. Everyone in the world back in the 70s had a receiver that would take a moving magnet cartridge. That's because they're high output. You can get away with just a basic phono stage and you'll be fine. Moving iron is just a slight variation on moving magnet. It's a slightly different design. Grado is, as far as I know, the world's #1 moving iron. Everything they do is moving iron. It's very, very similar to moving magnet. And then moving coil is the big difference, which I think basically they just kind of switch design principles. A moving coil is, the whole thing is based on a hand wound coil, and there's also a coil in a moving magnet, but it starts with magnets, and moving coil starts with the coil
Right.
and then goes to a magnet. That's
Moving coil.
wildly simple and probably
Expensive.
40% incorrect, but moving coils are just, there's a lot more to making them, so they're more expensive.
You've got
And-
one here?
And I do have one. They're
Just
also
haven't had one.
a lot lower output. I mean, they'll be,
Yeah, you got to have a hotter signal coming to this cartridge, the moving coil.
I think Jasper walked off with my.
Where's it at?
The moving coils on average have 1/100th of the output of a moving magnet.
Wow. Okay.
So they go as low as like 0.10 millivolts or even less. And this is a shelter. This is a nicely well thought of shelter 501. This is a 3. The thing about the reason I eventually got this
Style is covered up with this kind of
yeah.
metal cover here.
is I finally got a phono stage that had a moving coil option. So it has a much greater, I think it puts out, like a normal moving magnet phono stage will crank out, and I don't even know what the actual technical term is. It's like 41. The gain is somewhere around 40. and moving coil is like 61 or 2 or something. So you need that much more juice to get a moving coil to work. So I finally had a phono stage that did that. So I bought this secondhand, very good deal. It only had about 50 hours on it. And I love the way it sounds. I could not say that it sounds significantly better. It just sounds different from my Grado moving iron. It definitely sounds different than the Shure, but the Shure sounds just as different from the Grado.
Right.
I mean, they all have their own thing, and that's what's so fun about them.
Yeah, and I think the ultimate bottom line here is when it comes to cartridges,
it's your preference.
It's a preference.
It's what you like.
Highly subjective. It is preference. You know, a good place to start might be something Grado, because that's going to be cost effective, right?
Yeah. A lot of people start with Grado for good reason. You know, you can get one for $60 that's going to be really good, and you can also replace the stylus if you do something horrible involving tequila with your cartridge.
Well, probably a lot of people are running Audio-Technica.
Yes, Audio-Technica is the world's most
tables
prevalent
and cartridge
things manufacturer for sure.
And
then Ortofon has come in strong in recent years with that 2M Red, which I don't like too much. It's pretty,
which you see everywhere.
Pretty brash sounding, I would say. But you can also pop the stylus off the 2M Red and put a better stylus on, and it'll go up quite a bit. If you have a little bit more money to spend, I would get like an Ortofon 2M Blue or even Black, which is actually getting up into some hundreds. I would keep an eye out for any vintage Shures. Some of the vintage Audio-Technicas are also nice, and there's so many of them that you can find good deals on those with replaceable styli. So that's always,
which you might have to do, which isn't that big of a deal.
No,
right?
Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah,
you just pull it on, pull it off.
Right. It just kind of clicks onto the end there. So. Yeah. It's not a big deal.
Now, the one thing you have to be careful of is some cartridges are what's called low compliance, some are high compliance. That means that the cantilever, which is where the stylus is attached, cantilever on a low compliance is sort of stiff. It needs a heavy tone arm in order to get down into the grooves and track really well. A high compliance cartridge, which is a lot of moving magnets, are high compliance. They're a little bit more forgiving, so you can use a light tone arm, a medium tone arm. The vast majority of turntables in the affordable range, from vintage up to like all your $1,000 projects and music hall turntables, are medium ass tone arms, so you have hundreds of options for cartridges. The world's most beloved cartridge is probably the Denon DL103, which is low compliance. I've never had one because I've never had a heavy tone arm.
Right.
So it really doesn't make any sense to use one of those. I have recently, though, found some doodads that can add some mass to my tone arm. They're real heavy screws.
Right.
Made by Soundsmith. They're brass, and they'll add enough weight to the tone arm that I could get a Denon, and also it helps with the shelter, which is a little bit low compliant.
Well, okay, so I guess when it comes to cartridges and stylus, styli, if you will, the world is your oyster.
Yeah. Yeah.
That said, if you find something that you like, you know what I say. Trust your ears.
Exactly.
Just, if you feel like buying something else, just get it and try to give a little A/B, I guess. That's maybe the best way to go.
Or just come to my house and listen to any one of my 11 cartridges.
True. That's what I do. Turns out I'm really liking this vintage Shure cartridge that he's got going on. And he just got another one.
I did.
He just got another one for the other Roxton table.
Right.
So I'll put that picture of that up. So now we're going to have dueling Roxtons with vintage Shure cartridges. It's exciting stuff, folks. I mean, It's gonna be very exciting. Until we meet again, please like, subscribe, tell a friend, leave a comment down below. Going to come back with some more of this audio talk. We're going to get deeper than you guys probably want to go, but that's what we're doing on this. So, Bob out.
Jeffrey Lee out.